There's a rumor going around that America doesn't make anything anymore, that our entire manufacturing sector has been gutted, that all of our factories have closed their doors. That's why I called it a rumor. It's not true. Truth is, American output has increased over the last 3 decades, not decreased. Sure, globalization has had a huge impact on jobs, and those disruptive technologies that we're always hearing about, they're real, and they're here to stay. 3D printing, advanced robotics, the Internet of Things, whatever that means, big data, it's all having a huge impact on the way we make things and on the things that we choose to make. But make no mistake, America still makes things. Lots of things. Just ask the hardworking folks over at American Woolen in Stafford Springs, Connecticut. They're working today with a unique mix of modern technology and traditional methods that's allowing them to churn out the best textiles money can buy in the same building that's been standing right there on Furnace Avenue for the last 168 years. American Woolen is still standing because they understand that working smart is not a substitute for working hard. Tonight, you'll see that work ethic on full display, along with their obsession to make absolutely certain that every single thread is as good as it can possibly be. Those things still matter, and they are still a huge part of how America works. For the past 100,000 years, give or take, textiles have been an indelible part of the human experience. I mean, even your modern-day nudist still needs fabric for one thing or another, like the upholstery on our furniture, the carpets under our feet, or the countless other applications that blanket life as we know it. But despite an ever-rising demand for it, the textile industry here in the U.S. is on the decline. Where once there were 30,000 mills across the country, there are now only about 13,000. It's a startling example of what overseas production can do to any of our industries. But for those who still insist on product that's made in the USA, there are still places like American Woolen in Stafford Springs, Connecticut, one of only 4 wool mills left in the country. Here, textile workers have been spinning and weaving some of the finest fabrics money can buy for almost 200 years. But despite their prestigious track record, thanks to the stiff competition overseas and a shrinking workforce, they too are hanging on by a thread. Just ask their head of operations, Giuseppe Monteleone.
Right now, we are short in staff, and in some area, lost almost 100% of the crew. The management will try to help to get things going for not stopping, our operation.
For Giuseppe and his colleagues, that operation has a rare chance to do some serious business. Last night, a client placed a rush order for 1,000 yards of fabric worth $20,000. But there's always a catch, and in this case, it's getting all that done, along with their usual workload, by the end of the day.
So normally this takes a week, but we have to try to get this done in 1 day. And I have to help here because I am the only one who knows how to make this blend.
And here's roughly how that should go. First, your fibrous material, in this case, wool, has to be broken up. Then, it's got to be broken up some more. After that, it's rolled out into individual strands, which are then twisted to add strength. Now, you've got thread that can be woven together to create any number of fabrics. And to make this one, Giuseppe will need about 1,500 pounds of raw merino wool, grown and shorn in the foothills of Montana and stored in a warehouse just a short drive away.
So we're gonna put like 200 or 300 pounds down, and then from there, we're gonna start the machine.
True to its name, this picker is designed to pick the raw wool apart before sucking it up into a holding room. But just as the process is hitting its stride, Giuseppe spots a color that does not belong in this batch.
So we have some problem. I just saw a big chunk of a black wool mixed with the white wool, so we need to go upstairs and take a look at what the situation is.
Just one handful of black wool can taint the entire order. But on closer inspection, it's worse than Giuseppe thought.
It's a big problem because we're going to see this into the cloth. And this cloth is 100% white. This is probably going to take an hour for us. So this is a setback. We don't need it.
There are a lot of false starts and sudden stops in the textile business, which I guess is bound to happen when you mix high standards and complicated machinery with a notoriously unpredictable material like wool. But if everything goes just as it should, the raw wool downstairs will eventually wind up here in the weaving department, where it's the job of Keith Graff to turn 5,000 feet of thread into spools of freshly woven fabric. First, though, each of those threads must be laid side by side in a process called warping.
We're only going to have one shot to get it right. So I'm going to get it going now. Start the section off. Coming through the reed onto the drum. I'm going to jog it partially around. Separating the threads. Push the start button. I'm ready to rock and roll.
But like Keith said, he's only got one shot at this order if he's going to stay on schedule. So the key here is taking things nice and easy and heading off more serious issues before they arise.
I'm always keeping my hands on it. I feel a tight thread, so I'm going to check it out before it snaps. Here it is. Ah, it broke.
Fortunately for Keith, it's a pretty common problem with a pretty quick fix.
There is a special type of knot called a weaver's knot. Very important because the knot lies very flat, so it doesn't leave a bump in the material. And now we should be ready to go. Starting it up. It's looking real good. Nice and flat. Seems to be running pretty well.
In all, Keith will warp about 400 feet of thread at a time, then build out the width of the fabric by starting a new section.
And now I'm going to push a button so this assembly moves over and lines up. So the last ends of our first section will match up with the first ends of our last section. And it's going to repeat that process again and again and again to make a total of 2,116 threads in a 6-foot wide piece of material.
But midway through the second run,
Oh!
Keith spots the early signs of a mechanical issue.
I saw the machine move a little bit and I felt a vibration. I think I'm going to have to give Kirk a call. Kirk's our mechanic. He's real knowledgeable on this machine.
While Keith heads for the nearest phone in another of American Woolen's buildings, the mechanic in question, Kirk Simmons, is already at work fixing one of the many ancient machines that keep American Woolen running.
One day I'm a carpenter, one day I'm a plumber, the next day I'm an electrician, the next day I'm a welder. It's all different every day.
And with Keith apparently still looking for that phone, Kirk's current priority is one of the mill's 2 boilers.
This is the 600 boiler, 600 horsepower boiler, and that's very important because without the steam system, the mill is SOL, because without the boiler, they don't operate here. And also, it's kind of nice to have heat in the building so your people aren't hollering at you.
For the moment, the backup boiler is running just fine. But should something happen to that one, American Woolen would be dead in the water. So it's best that Kirk get this boiler running sooner than later, which apparently means replacing a sticky float assembly, the part that controls how much water enters the boiler.
Boiler runs out of water, you can destroy the boiler. Boiler gets too much water, you can destroy the boiler. Float switch assembly has to work. There you go. Stand Oh, who to blaze this now?
To venture a guess, I'd say Keith. Finally found that phone.
Hello? Okay, but I'll be over as soon as I can. Give me a few.
Make it fast.
Okay, so now I have a breakdown at the Reed building, and people are excited. I'll come back to it.